a normal expansion of water. So we put into the machine almost the same as what we're going to get out. With ice cream that we made over here, we put in half the capacity of the machine and got double out if I was doing the maximum amount of air content. The lower the air content, the less product you get. So you can say, I want a low overrun ice cream, and I say, fine, instead of getting $2.50 a scoop, you may have to charge $4.50. Will your market handle $4.50? So that's a decision you have to make. And to me, the air content is not even close to being as important as the ingredients that go in. Now with my infinite overrun, I can give you any air content you want, but if you put in mediocre ingredients, you're going to have a mediocre Italian ice or ice cream. I think Neil's back there telling me about his latest golf round at Pebble Beach. I'll have to check with him on that later on. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you about right now? The Italian ice, I don't have any stabilizer in it. I do have a stabilizer. Let me see if I can find it. Stabilizer is something that binds the product together. It is not necessary. A lot of people use it. It depends on how long you're going to keep the product. If you're doing a thriving business of Italian ice and you're making batches every day or every other day, you're not going to need any stabilizer. If you're buying a commercial ice, if you're selling it to someone who's going to sell it in another city, you want to put in a stabilizer to help bind it together. Most of the stabilizers we use in ice cream will ruin Italian ice. It makes it sticky and gummy and just awful. Malcolm Stogo has found a stabilizer from a company called Main Street Ingredients in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And all this is guar gum and carrageenan. So it's a seaweed and a gum. And that makes it all natural. And their Keystone 9100 stabilizer is absolutely fantastic in sugar water because you won't even notice it. But the best way to stabilize a product is tell me when you're going to serve it, and I'll tell you what to do with it. If you're going to serve it today and tomorrow, right into the serving cabinet and no stabilizer. If you're going to serve it a week from now, let's put it down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and it'll stay rock solid. Yes, Ken? Okay, the person's asking, would the 12-quart be adequate for a normal size business? And the answer, of course, is yes. The 24-quart, same size machine, twice the barrel, 2 tubs at one time is going to be better. It's all about labor. I used to promote only our 24-quart batch freezer. That's going to make 2 of these at one time, the 24-quart. The 12-quart is going to make 1 of these at one time, and the machine we're running right now, the 6-quart, is going to make half a tub at one time. Well, I think you should have the 2-tub machine. However, since we brought out the countertop machine, we have put over 300 families into the Italian ice business who, quite frankly, didn't have the money to get into their own business, but they'd been downsized, outsourced, let go. They weren't going to find a job in this economy. And so they said, that's okay, I'm going to reinvent myself and I'm going into the Italian ice business. So that machine I told you is going to last 40 years. It is. You can run it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No problem. It's just the amount of labor you want to put into it. If you have to run this for 10 hours to supply your business, where a bigger machine would only run for 2 hours, and let me interrupt, they're all making it in the same amount of time. If it's 15 minutes here, it's 15 minutes here. So what you do is you look at how much can I afford. That one's $8,950. This one is $17,900. If all I can afford is that one, fine. I'm in business. I'm going to work long hours. And I'll bet you're not afraid to work long hours because it's your own business. Nobody's telling you what to do or when to show up for work. You'll know to do it. As the business grows and it makes money, you'll graduate up to a larger machine. And that's great, because I'm big on telling people that your time is valuable. People always make the mistake, they say, oh, I don't need to pay myself, it's just me. No, you're the first person that should be paid, because without you, there's no business. And so if you're spending 15 hours making Italian ice that you could do in 2 or 3, that means you don't have any time left in the day to go out and get new customers. And that's the heart and soul of your business is, oh, I've heard about your ice, it sounds great. Oh, yeah, it is great, but I don't have time to come see you, so sorry. You need to be able to go see the restaurant, the pizza parlor, the person who wants to sell through one of Neil's push carts. You have to have the time to do that. Now that's firming up nicely. I'm going to show you what it looks like not ready. See how that rushed out? That's not ready. And I didn't expect it would be. It's got 5 minutes to go. So Italian ice is a fantastic way to get into business. It takes a minimal amount of equipment. You don't need the mixed storage box. You don't need the hardening cabinet. You don't need a lot of stuff, but you can get into business and start making money. Now, I know the cameras aren't turned off, and I'm hoping the IRS isn't watching, but let me just say something about the Italian ice business. It's sugar, water, and flavor. Water comes from the tap. Sugar can be bought over here, it can be bought over there, it can be bought in bulk. The flavor, gee, you're only using a few ounces or you're using fresh fruit. So only you know what your food cost is. But let me give you an example. I had a customer in New Jersey, big wholesale business, big arrogant too. Gets called in for an audit. And I'm telling you the truth, he walks in with the giant Rolex on, and after 15 minutes, he looks at this Rolex and says to the auditor, can you speed this up? My chauffeur's waiting for me. And this is a guy wearing a t-shirt, dirty t-shirt and shorts, and claiming that he's poor. Well, he's selling sugar water. He's not poor. Make sure you give the government their fair due, because you're going to make plenty of money selling sugar water. So now the IRS can tune back in. There are other ways to make the product. That's a pump. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I shouldn't be eating any of this stuff. But with the pump, I can just dial in a little more insulin and I'm good to go. Agave is what they make tequila out of, which I think is a far better use than making Italian ice. But you can use agave in substitute for the sugar. It's about 1.5 times to almost 2 times as intense as sugar. What it means is there's a thing called the glycemic scale where sugar on a 1 to 100 is 100 and agave is down at about 22. So if I'm going to eat Italian ice, the 22 agave would be better for me than the 100 sugar. Well, people say, well, why don't you make sugar-free? You can make sugar-free Italian ice. Is it any good? Absolutely not. Because the only way to make sugar-free Italian ice is using a product called multidextrin. If you go into the supermarket or the pharmacy and you see sugar-free candy, sugar-free chocolates, oh wow, I'm in heaven, I can eat chocolate again. Sugar-free chocolates, and you eat one, it's great. And then if you're like me, you eat the whole bag. And then an hour later, you are so sick to your stomach with Montezuma's Revenge, because that's what that product, multidextrin, does to you. It'll go through your whole system, to put it politely. So I don't want to sell a product that does that. Ken?
Bob is wondering about spumoni. How do you make spumoni? How do you make sweet flavors?
Bob wants to know about making spumoni, and let me check my product here. This is looking pretty good. I'm just going to dump this out. I always get spumoni and Neapolitan mixed up, so I'm going to pass on that for the second. But I can answer Bob's question, how do you make a 3-flavor ice quite easily. Rainbow is a 3-flavor ice. So when you're just starting out, you get some cardboard, 2 pieces, put a slit in it so that you divide the tub up into 3s. And then you have about 6 tubs divided into 3s. So we make the lemon and put it in the freezer. And then we make the blue ice and put it in the freezer. And then we make the cherry and fill up the 3rd compartment, put it in the freezer. And then we take, before it freezes solid, we take the cardboard out, or when you get really fancy, stainless steel, pull it out, and now we've got 1, 2, 3 flavors in the tub. And when we go to scoop it, we just take our scoop and go around like that, hitting all 3 flavors at once. It's a little labor intensive, but that's how you do it. Now this product, my timer says 50 seconds. I say it's ready. Watch this. I turn off the refrigeration, open that up, and there's all that product. Look how fast that comes out. I always try it because I figure if it's horrible, I'll go first. Yeah, that's good too. Wow, you guys are getting some great stuff. I mean, sometimes it's not so great. I made a blue ice that was awful. I mean, I thought we were going to have to call the hazmat team in to get rid of it. Oh, it was terrible. And it was no fault of the company who made the blue ice flavor. It was me. I messed up the formula. And, oh, just terrible. Okay, so we're going to try this, and then we'll take a 5-minute break. The restrooms are right around the corner. As I said, there's water in there. There's sodas there with the ice in the cooler. There's coffee here. And what, Ken?
What makes some ice creams creamier than others? Is it the overrun or the butter fat?
It's what makes some ice cream creamier than others. It's the butter fat content. A 10% is not going to be as creamy as a 16%. Over the years, my personal taste has gone towards the lower fats. I like them. Now, let me show you what we made. You think we made Italian ice, but we made more than that. In New York, we sell it in a squeeze cup. Now, if you call up your paper supplier and say, I want squeeze cups, like Steve Thompson was talking about, he'll look at you like a deer in the headlights, because they never heard of a squeeze cup outside of Broome Street in Manhattan. A squeeze cup is a pleated water cup. It's made by Solo, S-O-L-O. And it's the type of thing when you go to get water from the cooler, like in the other room, you pull down, you get a squeeze cup, you drink the water, you throw it away, or the doctor says, go into that room and fill it. And we eat it like that. Oh, there's good pineapple in there. I may not share this. And we squeeze it up like that. Now, up in Rhode Island, they would have pulled this product out a little softer, maybe a minute or two softer, and they would call it generically frozen lemonade because they only sell lemon flavor. They would sell it in a 16-ounce cup like that with a spoon, and again, a little bit softer out of the machine. This is what we do at Universal Studios, Disney, SeaWorld, Six Flags, and that's frozen lemonade. Same product, huh? Now, I go into a fancy French restaurant, boom, 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 and I order for $6.50 a fresh fruit sorbet, and that's it. That's all it is. Same product, different name, but that's sorbet, and this was Italian ice, and this was frozen lemonade. And that's it. Yes?
What's the difference between an ice and a granita?
A granita is this same product. Granita, granite, depends on where you're from. Granita, if this formula on my bigger machine was 7 pounds of sugar, a granita would be 5.5 pounds of sugar. The less sugar, the more coarse the product. Granita is Italian ice, but more coarse. In New York, the formula is 7 pounds of sugar, and it's called Italian ice. In Philadelphia, it's 8 pounds of sugar, and it's called Italian water ice. Same stuff, but they like their product smoother. The more sugar, the smoother the product. And everybody says, oh, no, it's secret. You'll never find out. It's a special ingredient that I got from my great-great-grandfather in Genoa, Italy. No, it's another pound of sugar. And in fact, if you were making Italian ice and you called me up and you said, yeah, you know, it's good, but the flavor's a little bland. Should I add more lemon? Should I add more pina colada? Usually adding a half a pound more sugar will enhance the flavor. I'm not a chemist, but sugar will bring out the additional flavor by adding just a little bit more. So come on up and try this, and then we can all break off for 5 minutes, and then Neil's going to talk to us. Oh, you wouldn't want fudge on that. There you go.
You're regular.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
There we go.
So is the pineapple just end up getting pulverized by this machine?
No, you'll find chunks in there. And if I wanted bigger chunks, I would add it as it's coming out. Richard, you want to try this? Well, you don't have to go online. Just don't turn your back or your face will be on the camera. No. There you are. Uh-huh. Gonna try that too? Good.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna help them share this time.
All right.
Sadie is favoring my T-bone steak. Is it okay if you use a slice? That was my breakfast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I had a T-bone steak for breakfast.
What a good idea. Yeah, that's good. No, she's on a diet. All right, so we're going to take a little break. Ken's going to turn down my microphone, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. I'm up? Okay. In a minute, I'm going to introduce you to Neil Williams, and he's going to tell you about push carts and hardening cabinets and other things that go into an ice cream parlor. But one of the people in the audience brought up a very interesting point while we were on a break, and they're looking at a location on a beach. And I did a project once down in Antigua, which I thought was very interesting. When you go to on vacation and you stay in a resort, in the bathroom, and you're miles away from the hotel, from the town, and in the Caribbean, rum, it's more expensive to buy Poland spring water than rum. It's just dirt cheap. But in the bathroom is a little glass cup, a glass for drinking water, and they will sell you rum drinks at the bar all day long for $5 or $7. So you're on vacation, you want to sit down, you want to have your own rum and Coke before you go out to dinner, but you don't have a cup. And the nearest town, unless you thought to bring one with you, and the nearest town is 5 miles away. This gentleman in the audience was talking about opening up on a beach, and what I did in Antigua is they had another interesting rule. They said if you can sell stuff on the beach. They have all sorts of vendors on the beach, and I don't mean a lot of hot dogs and stuff like that, but people selling trinkets and stuff like that. And the rule is you cannot have any trash on any of the Antigua beaches. So we came up with the idea of not a clear cup, but a plastic cup about 16 ounces, like you might get at McDonald's, and we put the customer's logo on it. And he sold them a frozen lemonade or an Italian ice in the cup. And now it's got his logo on it. So at the end of the day, at sunset, we can send our employees out to police that 3-mile beach. They'll walk the beach and they'll pick up any of our cups so that the government knows there is no trash from Thompson's Italian Ice, let's call it, on the beach in Antigua. And so the government likes us and keeps giving us our permits. What I've done for this tourist is I've given him a good-sized cup he can take back to his room and make a decent rum and Coke in. And if I wanted to take it even further, I'd say bring your cup back while you're on vacation and I'll refill it for half price. Because again, half a penny an ounce, you're bringing the customer back. He's probably bringing his wife this time. And so you're getting more and more customers coming back to you. Your trash isn't on the beach and all this free advertising. I got the other night, marketing is great fun. There's always some crazy thing, especially on beaches. And I sent this over to Ken. A lot of beaches around the United States now have static cameras to show you what the beach conditions are. Well, this guy over in Jupiter, where Paula and I go on weekends, had taken a lot of seaweed and had written out in big letters in the sand the name of his company and his website. And the camera is just looking right at it. And so until someone forgot, took the time to look at the camera, he's getting all this free advertising. So that's so sleazy, it's cute. And so the idea of walking around on a beach setting here in Florida with your name on it and something I can take back to the room, that's doing a lot of double duty, a lot of goodwill, and you're going to bring them back to sell them more. Neil Williams is here. And Neil knows everything about everything else. Anything you need to know about cabinets, he sells them. He sells push carts, all the other companies that you'll deal with besides Emery Thompson. We sell direct, and that's why our prices are so good. But all the big manufacturers of cabinets and freezers and all go through distributors. And Neil is a very high volume distributor for these companies. And so the high volume allows him to give very low prices. And just like Rush Limbaugh says, it doesn't matter where I am, because where I am that's where it is. In other words, I can go anywhere as long as I've got my computer. Neil can sell anywhere in the United States of America, the Caribbean, overseas, because it doesn't matter where he is. When you order a cabinet from him, it's still coming out of the factory in Alabama or wherever the manufacturing point is. But Neil can get you the very best prices on great equipment, and he's always available. And I'll turn the floor over to him and let him talk whatever he wants. I'll go take a nap, and I'll see you back in a few minutes.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Wanted to say thanks again to Steve and to Ken for putting this thing together every couple of months. It's pretty awesome to be able to come here and, learn about how to make ice cream, gelato, and Italian ice. And wanted to thank everybody that joined us from Turnkey Parlor. So a little background on me. As Steve introduced me, Neil Williams, president of Turnkey Parlor. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico in the Caribbean, and I worked for about 12 years with my brothers as an ice cream distributor in St. Thomas in Puerto Rico. They're still down there. They have like a 12-truck distributorship. They distribute to the supermarkets, Edie's, Ben & Jerry's, and some other lines of ice cream. And then I worked for about 10 years as a national account executive for Nestle, Edie's, Häagen-Dazs up here in the States before I founded Turnkey Parlor. So essentially what we do, Turnkey Parlor sells dipping cabinets, carts, gelato display cases, frozen yogurt machines, and hard to find items. A lot of times we'll get calls from people, they have a dipping cabinet, it might be old, they need the guts of it, the can holders, and they're tough to find. A lot of times we can source those type of things for them and help them out. We have free business guides anywhere. If you look on our website, turnkeyparlor.com, and on the top left you'll see a little free guides, free help guides, and we have one that's on vending, one that's on frozen yogurt machines, on the frozen yogurt business, and one that's just on ice cream business. So that's a pretty good resource. They're free. You just go put your first name and email in there, and then you can download it for free, and it's pretty good information. And then you can always call me, and I'll take the time to talk to you and answer whatever questions. I don't know it all, but I could do my best to try and help you if you have questions. And Steve, in the past I've come down here and talked more about ice cream coming out of the batch freezer and going into a hardening cabinet and dipping cabinet and that kind of process. But this time around I'm going to talk more about vending carts, vending Italian ice specifically out of different carts. There's three types of carts, of push carts. Cold plate carts, refrigerated carts, and then non-refrigerated carts. And obviously they go from more expensive to the least expensive. And in the handout, moving on to page 2, the cold plate carts, the best seller is a Nelson BDC-8. And we've got videos on our website, so you can check it out. Some of you who have already been on there have probably seen it or seen the videos. But a cold plate cart is a cart that you plug in at night. When you unplug it the next day, you don't have to have electricity or dry ice or anything like that. It's gonna hold temperature for 12 hours, 8 to 12 hours. Even, it seems hard to believe. People are, I don't know, but even in 95-degree weather, there's 3 inches of insulation on these carts. With the cold plates, it's gonna hold temperature for up to 12 hours. You might get a little bit of warm temperature creep towards the end of the day. So that's like the top level push cart is the BDC-8 cold plate cart. And you can also run that cart, like if you're going to have access to power, you don't have to run it off the cold plates. You could keep it plugged in and just run it like a regular refrigeration cart. And that's about $3,200 with shipping included. It's $28 and change, and about $300, plus or minus, depending where it's going to ship to in the country. And then you've got refrigerated carts that do not have cold plates. And that's just if you're going to be in a situation where most of the time you're going to be able to plug in the cart and dip out of it or sell novelties out of it while you're plugged in, then you don't really need the cold plates. You save a little money. That's about $2,500 with shipping included. The best seller is called the CLT6. And then you go to the non-refrigerated cart. The best seller is called the CLT4 NR. It stands for no refrigeration. And that's essentially a really strong, tank type of cart, stainless steel bottom, really good casters on it. it doesn't have refrigeration, but you can get maybe, I've heard anywhere on a range from 3 to 8 hours putting Italian ice in, maybe 8 buckets of Italian ice in there. They sort of contain themselves kind of like a cooler. And, it's the least expensive way to get into the business, buying one of the CLT4 NRs. And also, if you're going to expand, if you're going to want to have like 10 people out there and want to buy carts for them and set up that type of a little network of carts, it's the least expensive way to do it. About $1,600 with shipping. And then I attached this one sheet. It's a loose sheet here. This gives you a package deal. We've got these things that are called cool packs now, which are supposed to act like cold plates. They're not quite as good as a real cold plate that's built into the cart. But you could put 4 cool packs in one of these CLT4 NRs, and then the 3 to 8 hours, you could probably get 6 to 8 hours pretty consistently when you're using the cool packs. Sorry about that. So basically, if you buy a CLT4 NR, if you do one of these package deals, you have to have a freezer to store your ices in and to bring down the cool packs. And you want it to be a little below 0 because you want to cool those cool packs down so that they hold. They're essentially a larger, little ice thing that you put in your kid's lunch, that kind of thing. But the technology is advanced so that it holds, it holds temperature. I mean, one of the little ice packs that you put in a kid's lunch, will hold 30 degrees, but you need 5 to 10 degrees, and these will hold actually, you can even have them for ice cream dipping, which is about 0, and the cool packs will work for ice cream dipping too. Ideally, Italian ice, they work great for because Italian ice is easier. You're at plus 10, plus 15 degrees. So it's perfect. The CLT4 NR with the 4 cool packs and shipping, we've got a package deal of $17.99. Okay, and then does anybody have questions on the carts?
If you use that, and I'm not even know how to answer the question, but if you use the non-refrigerated cart, what temp does your ice need to be when you put it in?
The question is, if you're using the non-refrigeration cart, at what temperature do you want to put your ices in there? You're going to want to scoop the ices at about 15 above. I would say, you want your ices to go in the morning about 7 to 10, because you're going to get a little bit of temperature creep, and the ice is kind of, it might be a little bit hard to scoop in the morning, but it gives you a little bit of a safety net. And that's something that everybody's ice is going to be a little bit different, and is going to melt at a different rate, depending on how much sugar you use. So it's kind of a trial and error thing. You kind of got to feel it out and test it and see how that works. One thing that I'll tell you about cold plates that a lot of people who buy these carts don't realize is, and I'll get your question in a second, Ken, but cold plates, you can't, when you want to cool down, like the built-in cold plates, you have to bring the cart down below 0, like the minus 10 or minus 20, to pull those cold plates down as cold as they'll get. And that's how they really, the technology works. But you can't have your ices in the cart at that time, because if not, you'll have rock hard ice, and it's at minus 10 or minus 15 degrees. So when you're pulling down the cold plates, the built-in ones on the BDC-8, you don't want to have your ices in there. You put your ices in the day that you're going to go out and sell when you've unplugged the cart. And then one other thing, what did you have the question, Ken, from the web?
Yeah, you mentioned the serving temperature of the Italian ice. What temperature do you want to store it at if you're storing it for a long time?
The colder the better. I mean, at least 0, but the colder the better. It can't hurt to be, minus 10 or minus 20. 0 if you're gonna, if you have it at minus 10, it'll last you a year, But you want to, it's the colder the better, and then you have to take into account how long it's going to take to get it to 10 or 15 degrees, and you don't really want to, that's called tempering the product. Even ice cream, if you've got it in storage at minus 10 or minus 20, you have to temper it so that you can scoop it.
How long does it take? Say just freeze it
Probably a good, to do it the right way, probably about 24 hours. Yeah. So on the last page, I put this page in here because I wanted to talk. I've got a new line of hardening cabinets, and the hardening cabinet is also called the blast freezer. But when you're making ice cream in a batch freezer and you pull it out of the batch freezer, if you're, the next right thing to do is to put it into a blast freezer or a hardening cabinet. Because what happens is if you don't, it can develop ice crystals unless you scoop it up, unless you sell it that day, pretty much. So you want to harden it, get it below, to minus 30, in a minus 30 hardening cabinet, so that it doesn't develop those ice crystals and it hardens as soon as possible. That's the right way of making ice cream so that you don't have, a grainy texture in it. So it goes from the batch freezer into a hardening cabinet, either a 1 or a 2 door. And then from the hardening cabinet to the dipping cabinet, but it's going to come out of the hardening cabinet at like minus 10 or minus 20 degrees, so it's going to be rock solid. So you want to go into the bottom level of your dipping cabinet, which is the storage area, and then move it up into the dipping area, the day after. So there's kind of a rotation there. Some people have what's called a tempering cabinet, which is the middle. They'll have something that's sitting at 0, like a little chest freezer that's at 0, so that it can go from the hardening cabinet into a chest freezer that's 0, and then into the dipping cabinet if they're rotating too fast to go straight to the dipping cabinet. But hardening cabinets are expensive. I've been selling Masterbuilt primarily, and a 1 door, once you get shipping and everything in there, is about $6,000, and a 2 door is about $7,500. But I'm selling these. There used to be a brand called Kelvinator, which in its day was the top of the line dipping cabinet and hardening cabinet. Well, this new company bought all the technology and all the old Kelvinator branding and technology. Not the branding, but the technology and the manufacturing. We've got an introductory offer through October for a 1 door hardening cabinet for $47.90 with shipping. So, that saves about, over $1,000 versus a Masterbuilt. And the 2 door is a little under $6,000, so you save about $1,500. So if you're looking to get it, if you're going to be making ice cream, Italian ice, you don't really need the hardening cabinet, but if you're going to make ice cream and you want to make a good product, you're going to want a hardening cabinet, and we've got some good deals going through the end of October. You can pre-order it if you're not going to be ready till, whenever. We can always hold and ship it later. But I wanted to talk a little bit about that part because that's a really good deal. And I think that's pretty much it, unless there's more questions. And you guys can call or email me. I'm willing to talk. And obviously the website's Turnkey Parlor, and you can send me emails at any time. I think I have one question here.
Where did the cart ship out of?
Ohio. Nelson is the manufacturer. And you can visit the Nelson site too. Sometimes you'll see information that I don't have on my. I've got videos and a lot of great stuff on my site, but sometimes you'll find some stuff on their site. And you can look at their prices. They've got internet special direct pricing. Our pricing is just a little bit better than theirs, because obviously if I wasn't better than theirs, I wouldn't be selling any equipment. So, you can bounce around the different sites. Ken?
You were talking about cold packs for a mobile cart.
Yeah.
They were wondering how long you had to freeze those before they were cold enough.
A good 24 to 48 hours. Yeah, the question is how long, if you're going with a cool pack, which is the removable cold plate or cool pack, how long do you have to freeze it so that it, quote unquote, charges up or freezes? And it's 24 to 48 hours, depending on how cold the freezer is that you're putting them in. Ideally, you would be using a hardening cabinet, because that's minus 30 to minus 40. If you have a minus 10 to minus 15 freezer, that's good to bring those down in 24 to 48 hours. Again, Italian ice is very forgiving. If you're doing Italian ice and you have cool packs, even if you don't cool them down perfectly, you're still going to get a good amount of time with dipping Italian ice, because it's a simpler product to deal with. When you get into ice cream, it's a little bit more of a challenge with cold packs. I recommend ice cream or novelties, you take the plunge and buy the real cold plate cart with the built-in cold plates, because that's not going to fail you at all.
What kind of a freezer would they use in a mobile ice cream van when you drive around?
In a mobile ice cream van, we also sell what's called a cold plate ice cream truck freezer, which is, basically built to be able to take the beating that it's going to take being driven around. And it's got built-in cold plates also, and we've got those on our website in all kinds of different sizes and configurations. Okay? And Steve's, normally when I hit 15 minutes, he's like, get out of here, we got to make gelato. Stop trying to sell your stuff.
Neil does a great job. He really does, and he fits into my way of doing business, which is we don't try to sell you everything that we want to sell you. We try to sell you what you need to get the business going and be profitable, and then you'll come back to us as your business expands. And that's what we're in here for, is the long run. We want your business to grow, and that makes all of us successful. And Neil does just a great job, and thank you very much for coming down.
Thank you.
Good to
Appreciate
see
it.
you,
You all know where to find me.
and we'll see you soon. A little bit of housekeeping before we go on, and then I'm going to change up the formula a little bit. We have a series of 4 DVDs that we send out for free. All you have to do is send us an email with your address. It's hard to send it to you unless we know your address. And we'll send these anywhere in the world, and these are going to teach you how to make all the products that you're seeing today, and then some. There's ones that specialize on just Italian ice. There's another one on just the countertop. Introduction to Emery Thompson to let you know who we are, done by a TV station here in Tampa. A long tape on frozen desserts, which is covering a lot of what we're doing today. And that's all for free. You'll also find my prices right up on the website. I am sick and tired of companies who you call them up and say, well, how much is a 20-quart batch freezer? And they want to know how much money you make, what car do you drive, how many children do you have, how much is your mortgage? And then they say, we'll get back to you. We tell you right away, $19,900. But we think you need the smaller machine for what you're telling us, or we think you need the larger machine. And then you decide. But the prices are right there. I'm not here to sell books, but people I know are hungry for information, and that's why I do these free seminars. We sell a book called Incredible Ice Cream by Malcolm Stogo. Malcolm Stogo runs courses here and in New Jersey, and he is, to me, the best ice cream maker in the world. He taught me, and Malcolm and I have been friends for probably 30 years or more. And this, to me, this is a compilation of his 3 other books. It's got over 300 recipes in it, and to me, this is like the joy of cooking for ice cream and ices. Opening up one page, banana coconut fudge sorbet, apricot wine sorbet, Jerry Garcia gelato, mocha fudge pie ice cream. The recipes are all here, and they're broken down into the different size machines. It happens to be geared towards my machines, but the recipes are all right there. Quite frankly, I sometimes take the recipes and make them a little bit simpler, but not by much. But it's like any recipe. You will add to it or subtract to it by your personal tastes. It's not cheap. It's $65, which for a book is expensive. But I'm telling you, this thing is a master's degree in the frozen dessert business. And in the front of the book here's the introduction, the language of ice cream making, talking about Philadelphia ice cream, what is corn syrup, what's variegated ice cream. You go on, and it's how to maintain quality. Here's some prices on equipment that go into a store. And then in the back, you'll find at my website, under one of my headings at the top, it'll say Key Suppliers. I have about 25 companies that I use that I find their products to be excellent. I purposely do not take any kind of money from anyone, not from a flavor company, not from Neil, not from Malcolm, because this is all to make me look good. If I give you great information that you'll say, hey, that really worked out well, you'll remember Emery Thompson and my company. There's got to be probably 100 different companies in the back here with their addresses and what it is that they make. So if you're interested, you can call up and order that anytime. It's $65. Like I said, my sister Gay has them out there for the audience that's here today. But as you go into the business, before you spend thousands of dollars buying machinery and putting down deposits on stores, buy a book and read it and see if this is really what you want to do. This takes away all the mystique. It's just plain simple answers like you find here. It's really helpful. One more bit of housekeeping. People are going to say, Steve, your machines last 45 years. Why don't I buy a used one? Number one, there are no used machines. There are 3 on eBay today, 2 of which are older than me. They're both over 60 years old, and one of them you can't run because it's been banned. What happened is in 1996, the Consumer Product Safety Commission determined that a material that had been used in every bit of ice cream you'd ever use, something called dairy metal. It's in your milk supply, your pipes for milk. It's in your cheese. It's in your yogurt. It's in everything. And in 1996, they said there are trace amounts of lead in this stainless material. You got to get rid of it. So they passed a law. And the law didn't have much teeth to it, so pretty much everybody ignored it. This is 15 years ago. And then when President Obama came into office, quite frankly, he was looking to go after Walt Disney World. Maybe they didn't give him enough money for the campaign. Maybe they didn't give him any money. I don't know. But they were selling jewelry from China that had trace amounts of lead in it. He couldn't get a new law through Congress, so he went after the dairy law and said, anything that comes in contact with children, you can't have it. So at that part, it was 600 parts per million, which is about 4 grains of sand in the whole machine. On August, let's see the date here, July 15th, CPSC announces new lower limit for lead content in children's products. It's now down to 100 parts per million. That's 1 grain of sand in the door, the dasher, the bearings, the barrel, everything. So if you're looking at a 15-year-old or older Emery Thompson or Taylor or any other machine that's on the market, it's going to have dairy metal in it, and you're going to buy it real cheap, let's say $7,000, $8,000, and the health department's going to come in to do your initial inspection. You see over there, I have on the wall a certificate. This is a certified ice cream manufacturing plant for the state of Florida, though I'm using it for classes. And they would walk in here, and they would know dairy metal because it has a grayish hue to it, and they would red tag that machine and say, that's it, you're out of business. We don't care how much you paid for it. We don't care that you bought it yesterday. You're out of business. But the reason there aren't any used Emery Thompsons, and there are this morning 87 Capigianis and Taylors and Electro-Freeze. The reason there's no Emery Thompsons is my customers don't go out of business. They retire after 50 years, and so do the machines. So when you're dealing with something as important as a batch freezer, after all, you can invest $200,000 in this business, setting up the store and buying the cabinets from Neil and getting the dipping cabinets and the push carts. But unless you can make Italian ice, your investment is out the window. And if your machine, your used machine breaks down or the government comes in and red tags it, I promise you, if you call me up on July 15th, I can get you a brand new Emery Thompson in your store in 4 weeks. Not 5, not 4, but 4, not 3. So 4 weeks in the middle of the summer on the beach, you're out of business. Your whole $200,000 investment is down the tubes because you don't have product. So caveat emptor, buyer beware. Now I'm going to change it up a little bit because we're getting closer to lunchtime, and I thought I would switch over and make the wine sorbet. Nothing livens up the group like that one. Yes, Ken?
Gotta switch real quick.
Okay.